What if I told you that giving water to four strangers could save your dying farm, make you internationally famous, and change your life forever? You probably think I was crazy, but that's exactly what happened to Dave Michaels on a scorching Tuesday morning in rural New Mexico. And the truth is more incredible than any science fiction movie. Dave was broke. Dead broke. The kind of broke where you count every drop of water because the well is running dry and the bank is breathing down your neck. His family farm, 4 generations strong, was 6 months behind on mortgage payments. The drought had been merciless for 3 years straight, and crop prices had collapsed. Everything his great-grandfather built was about to disappear forever. But on this particular morning, something impossible was about to happen. Dave was out checking his failing irrigation system, desperately trying to squeeze every precious drop from his dying well, when he heard it. Strange clicking sounds drifting across the eastern pasture. Now, the nearest road was 5 miles away, and nobody ever ventured into this desolate stretch of desert. Most people stuck to the highways. So what was making those sounds? Curiosity got the better of him. Dave climbed onto his beat-up ATV and drove toward the noise, expecting maybe a broken-down truck or lost hikers. What he found instead made him forget all about his water problems. 4 beings were huddled under a scraggly oak tree, desperately seeking shade, and they were definitely not human. Picture this. 4-foot-tall creatures with grayish skin, oversized heads, and enormous black eyes that seemed to take up half their faces. They wore torn silver jumpsuits, and their faces had a bluish tint that somehow Dave knew wasn't their normal color. They looked absolutely exhausted, completely defeated. Now here's where most people would panic, call the authorities, or run away screaming. But Dave pulled up, shut off his engine, and said the most beautifully human thing possible. "You folks okay?" The tallest one looked up. Even exhausted and disheveled, it carried itself with dignity, like someone used to being in charge. "We're lost," it said in perfect English, though its mouth barely moved. "Our vessel malfunctioned. We've been walking for 2 solar cycles, and I think we took a wrong turn somewhere. 2 days. These beings had been walking in the brutal New Mexico sun for 2 days without adequate water." Dave looked at their empty containers, saw how they huddled in the shade, and knew they were in serious trouble. "When did you last have water?" he asked. "Yesterday morning," another alien replied weakly. "We rationed what we had, but—" Dave didn't need to hear more. 2 days in that desert heat, without water, was potentially fatal for humans. Who knew what it meant for these beings? And here's the moment that changed everything. Without hesitation, without asking who they were or where they came from, Dave said, "My farmhouse is just over that ridge. Let's get you some water and food, then we'll figure out how to get you back to wherever you're from." The relief on their faces was immediate. Dave helped them onto his ATV, making 2 trips to get everyone back to the house. When his wife Beth saw him arrive with 4 extraterrestrials, she blinked exactly twice, then went straight into caretaker mode. "Good Lord, look at you 4, she said, as if alien visitors were an everyday occurrence. "Dave, get them into the kitchen." For the next hour, Beth bustled around making sandwiches, while Dave provided water, sports drinks, and basic first aid for their strange cuts that leaked a silvery substance instead of blood. The aliens introduced themselves as Zorax, Meep, Klaatu, and Glee. They'd been on a routine reconnaissance mission when their craft developed propulsion issues. "We thought we were following the beacon signal," Zorax explained, "but obviously we weren't." Dave pulled out a topographical map. "Your crash site must be about 8 miles that way. You've been walking parallel to it, but in the wrong valley." 8 miles? Meep looked devastated, his enormous eyes somehow growing even larger. "Not circles," Dave said gently. "Just the wrong direction. Happens to experienced pilots all the time out here." When they tried to pay him, Dave held up his hand. "Nothing. You were in trouble, and we helped. That's what neighbors do out here." Zorax looked around the modest farmhouse, taking in the worn furniture and the stack of bills on the kitchen counter that Beth had tried to hide. "Are you sure? We'd be happy to provide compensation." "Positive," Dave said. Beth packed them extra water and sandwiches. Dave loaded them into his pickup and drove them to the access road that would take them back to their crash site. It was a 30-minute drive each way, time he probably should have spent working on his irrigation system, but he couldn't just point them in the right direction and hope for the best. "Thank you again," Zorax said as they gathered their packs. "You and your mate are lifesavers. Literally." "Just be careful out there," Dave replied, "and stick to the marked trails if you can find them." Dave drove home thinking about the aliens, hoping they'd make it back safely. But Beth met him at the door with devastating news. Dave, while you were gone, someone called about the mortgage. They want to schedule a meeting next week. Dave's stomach dropped. When banks called meetings, it usually meant foreclosure proceedings. Everything was falling apart. What did you tell them? That we'd call back? Beth twisted her hands in her apron.
Dave, what are we going to do?
Dave looked out at the fields his great-grandfather had first planted, the barn his grandfather had built, the house where his father had been born. I don't know, Beth. I honestly don't know. But Dave had no idea that his simple act of helping 4 lost aliens was about to change absolutely everything. The next morning brought another call from the bank, this one more urgent. Mr. Michaels, we need to schedule that meeting for this week instead of next. Can you come in Thursday morning? Dave felt the walls closing in. Thursday's fine. After hanging up, Dave sat on his truck's tailgate, staring at his failing farm. The corn was stunted from lack of water. The hayfields were brown. Even if he could make this year's mortgage payment, how many more years could he hold on? He was still sitting there when a black sedan with government plates pulled into his driveway. Dave's heart started pounding. Had something happened to the aliens? Were they pressing charges? A man in a black suit got out, carrying an official-looking envelope. David Michaels? That's me. I'm Agent Wilson from the United Earth Diplomatic Corps. I have a summons for you to appear before Judge Zoran of the Galactic Federation Court. Dave felt like he'd been punched in the stomach. Galactic Federation? What could he possibly have done to warrant attention from some kind of space court? What's this about? I'm just here to deliver the summons, sir. You're required to appear at the landing pad 30 miles west of here at 10 a.m. this Friday. Dave took the envelope with shaking hands. The symbol of a spiral galaxy was embossed at the top. Inside was legal language he didn't understand, but the message was clear. His appearance was mandatory. After the agent left, Dave sat on his front steps, trying to make sense of what was happening. Beth read the summons over his shoulder. Dave, what did you do? Nothing. I helped some aliens yesterday, and today I'm being summoned to a Galactic Federation court. It doesn't make sense. Beth was quiet for a moment. You don't think those aliens are pressing charges, do you? Maybe they're saying you held them against their will? Dave thought about Zorax, Meep, Klaatu, and Glee. They'd seemed genuinely grateful, but aliens could be unpredictable. Was it possible they were suing him? I should call a lawyer, Dave said. With what money? We can barely afford groceries. Friday morning came too quickly. Dave put on his only suit, the one he'd worn to his father's funeral, and drove 2 hours to the coordinates. In the middle of the desert was a large circular platform surrounded by reporters and photographers from every major news outlet on Earth. A spacecraft that looked like a silver teardrop hovered above the platform, then gracefully descended. A door slid open, and an honor guard of aliens emerged. Followed by a taller alien in flowing robes. All rise for the Honorable Judge Zoran, announced a translator. Dave stood with everyone else as the imposing alien took a seat on a floating platform. Judge Zoran appeared older than the others, with slightly wrinkled gray skin and eyes that seemed to hold ancient wisdom. Be seated, Judge Zoran said, the words somehow appearing in Dave's mind rather than being spoken aloud. David Michaels, please approach the bench. Dave walked forward on unsteady legs, sure he was about to be charged with some interstellar crime he didn't understand. But what happened next left him completely speechless. Mr. Michaels, Judge Zoran began, 3 Earth rotations ago you provided aid and assistance to 4 Galactic Federation scouts who had become lost on your property. Is that correct? Yes, Your Honor. And you provided them with water, nutrients, shelter, and transportation back to their vessel, asking for nothing in return? Dave was confused by the formal tone, but answered honestly. Yes, sir. They needed help. Judge Zoran's face shifted in what Dave assumed was the alien equivalent of a smile, and suddenly his stern demeanor softened. Mr. Michaels, one of those scouts was my offspring, Zorax. They contacted me 2 Earth rotations ago to tell me about a farmer who quite possibly saved their life and the lives of their companions. Dave felt his knees go weak. The judge's child. He'd helped the Galactic Federation equivalent of a Supreme Court justice's child. Your Honor, I didn't know. Of course you didn't, and that's exactly why you're here today. Judge Zoran gestured to the crowded landing pad. Mr. Michaels, what you did represents the best of what it means to be a good neighbor and a good citizen of the galaxy. You saw beings in need and you helped them without question and without expectation of reward. Dave looked around at the reporters, finally understanding why they were present. Mr. Michaels, by the power vested in me by the Galactic Federation, it is my honor to present you with the Intergalactic Award for Sentient Compassion. An aide approached with a crystal sphere that seemed to contain swirling galaxies. Dave accepted it with trembling hands. Furthermore, Judge Zoran continued, the Galactic Federation is pleased to announce that your farm has been selected for the Planetary Agricultural Preservation Initiative. This program provides technological assistance to family farms that represent the agricultural heritage of developing worlds entering the galactic community. Another aide handed Dave an envelope. The landing pad went quiet as Dave opened it. Inside was what looked like a small silver disc. This technology package includes advanced irrigation systems, drought-resistant seed modifications, and soil enhancement procedures valued at approximately 150,000 of your Earth dollars, Judge Soren explained. The Federation believes that preserving traditional agriculture is essential to maintaining planetary biodiversity. Dave stared at the disc, convinced he was hallucinating. Your Honor, I can't accept this. I was just helping people. Beings, I mean. Mr. Michaels, that's exactly why you deserve it. The Preservation Initiative is designed to help families like yours continue working the land that connects you to your ancestors. According to our records, your farm has been in the Michaels family since 1924. Yes, sir, my great-grandfather homesteaded it. Then this technology will ensure it stays in your family for another generation. The ceremony continued with speeches about interspecies cooperation and community values. Dave stood through it all in a daze, still holding the silver disc that would save his farm. Afterward, as the crowd dispersed, a familiar alien approached him. It was Zorax, now dressed in an ornate uniform and looking nothing like the exhausted being he'd found under the oak tree. Mr. Michaels, I wanted to thank you again, and to apologize for not telling you who my parental unit was. Why would you? You were lost aliens. I helped because you needed help. Zorax's eyes crinkled in what Dave was learning to recognize as a smile. That's exactly what I told my parental unit. That's how they knew you were someone special. Judge Zoran joined them, still wearing the formal robes. Mr. Michaels, I want you to know that this award isn't just symbolic. Zorax told me about your farm, about the bills they saw, about the drought you're fighting. The technology comes with Federation agricultural experts to help you implement water conservation techniques and diversify your crops. Dave felt overwhelmed. Your Honor, I don't know what to say. Say you'll keep being the kind of being who stops to help strangers, regardless of their planet of origin. The galaxy needs more people like you. 6 months later, Dave stood in his newly irrigated fields, watching his best corn crop in 5 years sway in the breeze. The Federation technology had allowed him to purify groundwater previously too saline for use, install moisture-capturing irrigation systems, and diversify into drought-resistant crops that were actually more profitable than his old operation. Beth joined him at the fence line, carrying a pitcher of lemonade. The Federation ambassador called. The demonstration plots are performing so well that they want to use our farm as a model for other Earth properties entering the Federation program. Dave accepted the lemonade gratefully. The irony wasn't lost on him that helping 4 thirsty aliens had led to solving his own water problems. You know what I keep thinking about? Dave said. What's that? Judge Zoran said that Zorax called them Tuesday night. The agent showed up Wednesday morning with that summons. If I'd known who Zorax was, I might have acted differently. Might have been thinking about what I could get out of helping them. Beth nodded. But you didn't know. You just helped because they needed help. That's what made it real. A spacecraft was coming down toward their landing pad, kicking up dust from the desert soil. Dave recognized the vessel. It was Meep's diplomatic shuttle. Meep climbed out with a big smile, his gray face now healthy and vibrant. Dave, how's the farm? Better than it's been in years. What brings you out this way? I wanted to see the place again. And to give you this. Meep handed Dave what looked like a crystal business card. I'm starting a xenotourism company, and I'd like to partner with you. Galactic visitors, farm-to-table dinners featuring genuine Earth cuisine, maybe some overnight stays to observe your fascinating Earth nocturnal creatures. Dave looked at the card. You want to bring aliens to my farm as tourists? Dave, you've got 400 acres of beautiful land. You're implementing cutting-edge conservation techniques, and you're the kind of human people across the galaxy want to meet. I think we can build something really special here. 6 months after that, Dave was showing a group of visitors from 3 different star systems around his farm, explaining how the new irrigation system had tripled his crop yields while using half the water. The key, Dave told the group, is working with the land instead of against it. When we stopped trying to force traditional crops to grow in drought conditions and started planting what naturally thrives here, everything changed. After the tour, Dave found Beth in their kitchen, which had been remodeled with proceeds from the xenotourism business. She was preparing dinner for their guests, something she discovered she loved doing. Judge Zorin called, Beth said. They want to bring a delegation of Federation representatives out next month to see the conservation techniques in action. Dave smiled. Judge Zorin had become a friend over the past year, often bringing VIP groups to see what they called a perfect example of how galactic investment in good people creates lasting positive change. You know what I learned from all this? Dave said, looking out at the thriving farm that had almost been lost to foreclosure. What's that? Most of the good in this universe happens when nobody's keeping score. You help someone because they need help, not because you expect something back. Beth nodded. And sometimes, when you're not keeping score, the universe keeps score for you. That evening, Dave walked through his fields as the sun set behind the mountains. The corn was tall and green, the new alien fruit trees were establishing well, and the guest accommodations Meep had helped him build were booked solid through the fall. His phone buzzed with a text from Zorax. Bringing some friends from the diplomatic corps next weekend. Any chance we could stop by the farm for one of Beth's famous dinners? We promise not to get lost this time. Dave texted back, You're always welcome, and bring whoever you want. We've got plenty of water now. He'd learned that the most important moments in life often came disguised as ordinary choices. Help strangers, or let someone else deal with it. Share what you have, or protect what little you own. Trust that kindness matters, or assume it doesn't. Dave had made the right choice. On a hot day, when 4 exhausted aliens needed water, that choice had saved his farm, changed his life, and shown him that success wasn't about what you achieved for yourself, but about what you made possible for others. The farm that had almost been lost to foreclosure was now thriving, not just as an agricultural operation, but as a symbol of what happened when good people were given the support they needed to succeed. And it all started with 4 aliens who needed help and a farmer who didn't hesitate to provide it.
Sometimes the smallest acts of kindness create the biggest miracles. Sometimes being human is the most alien thing you can do. And sometimes, just sometimes, the universe rewards those who help without expecting anything in return. Dave Michaels learned that on a Tuesday morning in rural New Mexico when he chose compassion over caution and changed not just his world, but his entire galaxy.